Hey, BDC Live, Courtney here from the Office of Student Involvement. Throughout the course of today, we are connecting with students to hear about their outside of the classroom experience. So next, I'm joined by Melanie from Chi Omega, telling us a little bit about Chi and what they've been up to. Melanie, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi there. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad I get to talk about CHIO, one of my favorite things. But a little bit about CHIO. We are one of the largest women's organizations in the nation. We are a Pan-Hellenic sorority. We are a philanthropic organization, so we spend a lot of time volunteering and donating for Make-A-Wish Illinois. And especially now, we still continue that virtually because life is hard for Wish kids, and we want to show them that we still care. What we've been up to as of late, as I'm sure everyone has, a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of mandatory Zoom calls, a lot of fun Zoom calls. But I don't know, I feel like at the end of the long day, a nice Zoom call with friends is super nice. So that's what we've been up to as of lately. How about you?
Well, me, I think it's been a lot of the same, right? Like it's figuring out this new Zoom environment and virtual environment and getting used to all sorts of different things. And part of my job, and I think the job of like our team and student involvement, is to make sure that you all have the tools that you need to be successful in whatever it is you do. And I know specifically when it comes to fraternity and sorority life, we talk a lot about leadership, scholarship, and service. So, just out of curiosity, I'm curious, I know you've talked a little bit about like Make-A-Wish and some other things. How is Chi Omega committed to some of those values throughout this virtual environment?
Yeah, so community service and giving back to our community is like one of our like core values for our sorority. Even pre-pandemic, we required all of our members to get at least X amount of community service hours. And while we want to be accommodating during the pandemic, we also believe that now more than ever is the time to give back. We still have that requirement, and you'd be surprised how many girls go above and beyond the required like 5 or 10 hours we set for them. I know for a fact at least 5 girls last quarter got over 100 hours. And
Wow.
it's not just at Make-A-Wish, that could be at like Pause or the Cities Project or Demon Thon. And it's just really inspiring to see that these girls are still like so dedicated and using up a lot of their time to like give back. In terms of scholarship, we've always prided ourselves of having one of the highest GPAs per like organization on campus. And we have like in-group incentives. Like if you're one of like the first, I don't know, 5 people to like end the quarter and get like a 4.0, like you'll get a Starbucks gift card. Although that's not the end of the world. Like we try to do a good job to like shout them out on our Instagram or just, I don't know, like recognize achievement when you've definitely earned it, especially in such a hard learning environment, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's great to hear. I think it's one of the things that's really special about our fraternity and sorority life community is there are these, baseline values that you all have. For me, obviously, our office works with FSL. So it's been really great to see how students have been creative and have been able to continue to live those and really lean on the values that they were founded upon. Because I think sometimes, for some, especially early on in the pandemic, people pushed pause, right? They pushed pause and they said, I'll do it eventually. But I think to see a student organization such as Chi Omega continue to commit to those throughout the pandemic, for me, is really, really refreshing. And it talks about like our Vincentian spirit a lot too, especially when it comes to some of those service components you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we try to live by our symphony, and like we have lines such in it like scholarship over social obligation and like lovable rather than popular. And like it's crazy that women in like 1904 were saying this, but we kind of extrapolate that to like today's, and it's like, okay, do I really need to be hanging out with all my friends right now, or should I like get my work done, or like should I go back in my community and see what I can do? Especially because I feel like a lot of girls in our sorority are a little fortunate to have a solid place in the city to stay. And I don't know, it's just, yeah, we really do value community outreach. And I think that's like really special and something you don't really find quite often, especially now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Melanie, I'm curious here. Part of fraternity and sorority life is the recruitment process and getting new members in. And I know that FSL just completed recruitment and intake for all of our different chapters. I'm curious if you can tell people who might be familiar with the process what that looked like this year.
Yeah, so this year was a little different. So normally in fall we do our formal recruitment, and that's pretty much the recruitment everyone thinks of. It's like, okay, you talk to all the sororities, and then whatever mutual agreement happens, that's who you run home to. We did COBing, which is continuous open bidding, which is a long way to say informal. So we just had kind of girls reach out to us who were interested. We reached out to girls who we saw were freshmen, and you just kind of have genuine conversations. I know, like, back when restaurants were still open, we would have like an older girl and like a newer girl, like social distance together. So it was only two people and we'd get to know each other that way. And that was like a really, really good process that I definitely underestimated because it's just less intense and everyone can just breathe while like still like figuring out their stuff during the pandemic. Cause I mean, that was still pretty early on. It was the beginning of fall quarter. In the winter, it was a little bit of a different story, but I would have to say, I feel like a lot of people in Panhandle made it easier for us by like setting up the Zoom calls and like giving us a schedule. And so pretty much people signed up for formal recruitment. They bounced from Zoom to Zoom, which had different sororities in it. And we put them out in breakout rooms so they would have those like smaller conversations and not get overwhelmed. But we also try to like be more personable over Zoom. So we did things we might not normally do. Like we had older seniors talk about their experiences, and not to like sell the sorority, but to just kind of being like, if you put into this and like you start this now, like you won't even imagine like all the benefits you're going to reap by like the next 4 years. So I would say it was a success. I was nervous going into it, but I mean, we have great new members and I'm so excited for them.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that I keep talking about, especially the first and second year students who, either had limited time on campus or who haven't had time on campus yet, is, DePaul, our aim is to be back in person come fall. And all of the relationships that our students are making in this virtual world right now are going to be able to happen in person. Like I know typically on campus, CAIO has like the CAIO Carnival and does a lot of different philanthropies for Make-A-Wish and different things like that. And all of these new members that you have in tandem with your returning members are going to be able to bring those things back to life. And, it really is one of the things that we talk about for fraternity and sorority life is like you're joining forever, right? Like when you become a member of these chapters, it's not just for 4 years, it's for life, right? So you're joining the alumni network, you're joining the opportunities for connection for jobs and internships, all of those different things. And for me, as on more of an administrative side, it's been really refreshing to hear that students still see the value in that community and are still jumping in with both feet.
Yeah, I think that's like really awesome as well. Chi Omega, we even like back in March when people were like, I don't know, the newer members were like, I live in a dorm. Where am I supposed to go right now? I feel like we have like a great, like even not even CAIO, but Panhandle like apartment page where it's like, I'm leaving, I need a subleaser. And like that worked out perfectly. And I know my current roommate who's a CAIO, like subleased for another CAIO. And like, I don't know. I just think it all worked out perfectly. And in terms of going back on campus in fall, I mean, I can't wait for that. I won't be around for it, but I'll definitely be begging some of my friends for some updates. I just think these newer members are just so excited to like get in there and like get to know us and like integrate the chapter more that I like can't see it being anything other than like a success when it comes to like hosting our big philanthropy events that we invite the community to, or even just having internal events. Like I think attendance is going to be crazy, and I think it's just going to be better than ever.
Yeah. Well, Melanie, this conversation has been absolutely wonderful. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today and to talk with all of our viewers for BDC Live. But is there anything else you want to share? Or, is there a place that people can follow along with Chi Omega as they as you all head into the rest of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're interested in anything I had to say or CAIO's interesting you, we are doing informal recruitment. So our Instagram is CAIO DePaul. If you're interested in Panhandle life in general, you can follow DePaul Panhandle. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Be sure to catch our interviews throughout the rest of the day. But until the next one, we hope you stay safe. Bye-bye, everybody.